Hi, welcome to the Jen Hayward Show. This is Jen Hayward. We have a lovely guest today, Paul Gagnon from Flying Colors Painting, who will be talking about lessons learned financially. We're going to get an accountant or a bookkeeper on with us, but they're really busy right now. And he's got enough mistakes for all of us. So reminder for anyone coming, which all of you are, on my personal page is that's great, but any comment you make, I can't see. But if you go to YouTube or Facebook, The Jen Hayward Show, any comments you make, we'll be able to interact. So if you want to interact with us, move on over to The Jen Hayward Show. I've been off for a few weeks. It's been crazy busy. I've had a Just for Laugh taping. I had Dragon's Den audition. I've had lots of fun things, so I've been really focused. And also I've been very busy trying to rest as well. So that's where I am. Yeah, that's right. Half of you listened and went over there. So someone make a comment and we'll show you how it works. The purpose of this talk show was to, and this series, and this sort of ends the lessons learned portion, was to, look at all the struggles that small business people are going through and learn from each other's examples. And so we've had a lot of fun. And today is no different. So I'm going to, without further ado, I could do a monologue, but that's, who cares? All right, I'm going to bring him on. Paul, looking all relaxed there. Look at that. So
we have to be relaxed, Jen.
Oh my God.
It's all we got,
Exactly. How are you? I haven't seen you in info.
Yeah, I know. In person, almost a year now, right? So, but we do see you every Wednesday. So it's
that's it. Yeah,
you're always still cracking us up.
My business networking group that I meet every Wednesday morning, and he had painted my previous headquarters. And did a good job. And so Paul, how long have you been an entrepreneur for?
Oh, brother. I've had my painting business for 10 years now. I focused on painting, but I was a contractor before. And this is so much easier. Focusing on one thing that I can hand off to my team's jobs that I don't necessarily need to be on the job. These guys all know what they're doing. So
nice, isn't that nice? My daughter says amazing, by the way. Of all of our people watching, one of them is my family.
Awesome.
That's fine. Don't worry. We get more people watching in rerun after. A lot of people, when we do live, that's Beautiful. Why people don't like live, is because they want like a large audience, but people are busy. We do what we do. Well, that's good. So you're a painter, and you have interesting marketing strategy. Everyone knows who you are, or at least not who you are, but what your business, because you have signs that are everywhere. Like, I don't know what your marketing budget is, but I mean, I could be in the most minute area of Ottawa, and I'm like, hey, it's those signs for the public that, I don't know, they go in like the NDP signs or something, but they just flying color. Like, you just sort of put on public fairways. So when you're driving, you're like, oh, I need to get painting. Let me slow down and cause an accident and get that number. You do a lot of those, right?
Yeah, I've slowed down on that side of things because the city doesn't like it. Let's face it.
And they got nothing to do but ticket people right now.
Yeah, and actually, I did get ticketed a couple of years ago for Barhaven. They hate it. They hate it in Barhaven. There's people complaining. Yeah, I think so. But I was pretty aggressive at but I learned where to draw the line, I can only space them out so much, but my word got out pretty good with that. It's a really inexpensive marketing method, for the money. For $400 I can get 100 signs, and you can blanket a lot of area with 100 signs for sure. But
you're not doing it this year. Well, this year, so let's talk. A year ago, you were getting ready for a busy summer. And then how did the pandemic, I mean, I've heard multiple reports that your industry got busier because the home market went crazy and people were home more, so they wanted more projects. Did you find that, or did you find it went down? What did you find?
It was a little bit of both. I found my work is divided between some commercial clients that I have and repeat general contractors. On that side of things did slow down, and that's kind of where a lot of my revenue comes from. My revenue was down, but I was busier with residential stuff for exactly that reason. People are at home; they're looking at their walls all day long. They're noticing stuff. They want to change, and it was and that's carried on to this year as well. Tons of real estate stuff. Like, even though it's a pandemic, the real estate market is crazy right now, and it's great for guys really like us. Yes, yes.
I felt, well, say I did, didn't have a lot of money this summer, but I needed, because I had like boys who punched holes in walls and stuff. So I got someone I know, someone who knows someone. And I knew that you get what you pay for. I said, I don't care how perfect it is as long as the holes are done. But then they like painted over the light switches and things like that. And we couldn't get them off to repaint it. So it poked another hole in the wall. So sometimes if I had had money, we would have had you in, but my house is okay. For business, I only use the best, but
that's all right. And I've been watching you for since you've been broadcasting this, and I've always wanted to come on because every mistake I've made, and I can relate to so many of the stories from all your guests that you've had about, I'm in the trades. I'm a trades guy. I'm not an accountant. I don't know all these. Like, when it comes to HR, it's like I've made all the mistakes, believe me. And the only way to really learn this stuff is
with my husband too. No,
yeah. So the mistakes, the only way that you can really learn from them is just to do them. I've taken coaching lessons, and and I've started listening to people like my wife. she's really good with that. Don't hit that send button. I think you should sleep on this. Yeah, exactly. So that's really, at the end of the day, I've learned over the years that I'm working to live. I'm not living to work. And, I learned I think the first lesson that I learned, and I know that our topic is the CRA and, and debt in general, never let somebody chase you for money. always, if you go and talk and explain your situation to anybody that you owe money to, CRA especially, they're actually pretty easygoing as far as a repayment plan. They know that, and
get your accountant to do it, though. Don't do it yourself.
Well, yes, exactly. And this was before I had an accountant. I got audited, and my account seized by CRA at one point back in 2014, I believe it was, and it was for back HST and that sort of thing. But as soon as they seize your account and they get your attention, so that will definitely make you reach out and call them. But as long as you speak with somebody, and the CRA, and a lot of people's view of the CRA is that they're this big monster that's out to get your money. And sometimes that's true.
If they're watching, by the way, we love you, CRA.
Yes, we do. We absolutely love you. And now I pay my taxes all the time, and I do things differently. Yes, absolutely. But, if you, the people I spoke with on the collection side of thing they're human beings just like me and you. And we make mistakes, and sometimes it's like, I want to keep working, but I owe you some money. So let's work something out. And you know what? In life, I found that if you approach things and address it head on, don't let them come to you, because they came to me, and that's what I learned. It was always go to them if there's any issue. I bleed that over into everything in my life now as well, too. If I'm going to be late for an appointment or a quote, I will text somebody and say, I'm running 5 minutes late. Do you know how many people love that sort of stuff?
Well, basic respect, right?
I get so much work from that kind of behavior that, in the trades, the bar is very low. So it's not.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The transportation industry is the same. Yes. So it's those little communication things that people are blown away. And I was like, why wouldn't we phone you if something's going to be late or if there's an issue? Like we had, we put out a joint statement one of the first years. Busy day. For us at the time, we only had 3 cars on the road. And there was a horrible accident on the 417 where like someone lost their life, and it took both 4 lanes. So 4 lanes were shut down, and it was a storm. So we all just put out social media. I said, you'll get your stuff when you get your stuff. And no one complained, right? No one complained. Because when you like compare it to the decapitation of this fella on, you know what I mean? Like when you put it in perspective, it's just stuff, but it's just that small respect. But let's go back to the beginning. So how did you get in trouble to start with? So like you said, you weren't an accountant. So you decided you're going to start your own business, right?
Yes, I did. And
you're like, okay, so I'm going to, did you do sole prop or, I said, look at all the words I know now, or did you?
Sole prop. No, I was a sole proprietor. I created, and my first, before it was Flying Colors Painting, it was called Nitpicker Painting, and which I changed over because it just sounds so cheesy.
Yeah, I'm getting itchy just thinking about it.
Paid to be picky. That was my little tagline.
Okay,
So but again, I tried a lot of stuff on that as well too. But I guess it was just a matter of when I was getting paid, I was throwing everything into a bank account, and expenses were coming out, and I suppose I was overspending more than I was bringing in. And we learn, right? And it was all of a sudden, it's like,
you don't know your numbers. You don't know your numbers.
Yeah, and I didn't.
Busy running a business, we forget about that part. I get it.
Absolutely right. And I mean, the first year I was probably working 18 hours a day, realistically. And I was chasing shiny objects, is what they call it. So I was going after all the apartment buildings, repaints, and it was like, oh, this apartment building's got 200 units in it, and if I do even 10% of those, it's I was adding up and trying to chase all this money, which, if there's no money on one unit, there's no money on 200 units, know. And so I was occupying all my time, and I made some mistakes, and I was paying guys, and I learned to just go with what works, and a customer repainting a house or getting things ready, developing a network of people who always give you work, like BNI is a great resource for that. Because we have like 65 salespeople there that will tell all their clients, But
let's go back to the mistakes. Yes. I'm gonna really. Okay. So, because I mean, specifically for people to learn,
let's dig in.
It's really easy to avoid the stuff you don't want to do. Being a business owner is so fun until you have to look at the books. Like that's my theory. Although now I have fun because I have my bookkeeper walk me through teaching me things. But honestly, when I was on my own, it was, and when someone took over, it was hey, here's all the people who owe us money. Can you help me? Yeah. And well, no wonder I never had money to pay this or that or the other thing, was because I wasn't collecting all the money that I should. Yes. And then I couldn't even, and I comped everything. And I have to stop doing that, where I'm like, I couldn't figure something out. I'll just do it for free. I just liked the idea. And because we worked 120 hours a week, it didn't well, how about I just don't open those bank statements and then I don't know what's going on? It's not, is it similar to you, or was there?
Very similar. My grand idea was to be the cheapest guy in town. When I first started out, I was on Kijiji, and I'm competing with guys who are, they're doing paint jobs for $15 an hour. And it's like, oh, I'll beat that.
Over my light switch. That's who you're competing with.
Exactly. Absolutely. And it's, trying to go for the cheapest people in town. What was happening is you're attracting all their friends who are cheap just like that. Not saying that there's anything wrong with that. There was a place for somebody who's just starting out, and it was a really good lesson for me to how to get my feet wet in doing the accounting stuff, but I was doing it wrong. I didn't have the money, exactly like you just said. There was lots of hours going out. There was lots of overhead, and I was making mistakes and not charging enough. And, after about 2 years of bouncing around like that, I was able to have my first business coach guided me through that. And it's like, look, here's the numbers that you need. No, that was, it was Terry? I don't remember his name. Yeah, it was Terry. Exactly.
I know people.
Yes, exactly. Yes. You went to Terry too, didn't you?
No. Oh, no, okay. He referred me more people than Rob Dale did, if you're watching, Rob.
Wow.
But I'd never met him, but I'm luckier than a lot of people, because at the time we established ourselves as pretty much the only option for local people. it was always out there, but people just didn't know, right, to use us or to use a courier service. Now with COVID, there's about 3 or 4 people who have started, courier services for local businesses. And a lot of people have been like, ooh, are you worried? I said, nope. I said, because 1, we established ourselves. 2, we're not a faceless app. 3, we have a completely different model, which means I make less money than my competitors, but so do my staff. My staff make more money than theirs. And so my staff are going to give 110,000%. My money will trickle in a little more. I mean, the company, not me. I make an okay living. But so that was the decisions I had to make. So when you had to position yourself and not be the cheapest, how hard was that? So
it was harder in my head than it was actually, because when you work for a low amount of money all the time, you don't think you're worth the upper money, you're not worth, I didn't feel that I was worth that. And
we get in our own heads, right? Because I think I'm hearing from you, a lot of people. Angelina just made a comment that when she was doing, she worked long hours and paid very little. And it seems like that was, how we all thought to have a business, because we just didn't want to do, well, I mean, for me, it was, we'd lost our jobs, and also, my kids had some needs that needed us to have some flexibility. Well, when they're thrown out of school, we can toss them in the car. Now they're delivering cupcakes for the day, right? And that happened at least once a week with one of the boys. And so we had all that. So when you made your mistakes, CRA came to you, they seized your accounts. And so that must have been quite the shock. So how did you?
It was.
Yeah. Did you respond yourself, or did you get a representative?
No, I responded myself at that time. And I spoke with them and hammered a deal out, and they did end up releasing my money, but they had released it. I had a bunch of checks actually that I couldn't deposit because my bank account was seized.
Oh no!
However, there was a way around it, and I got around it. So
how long did they seize it though?
Pardon me, sorry.
How long until they unseized it?
It was about a month and a half, 2 months. So it was enough to put
you scared the crap out of every entrepreneur, but you're not the first person I've heard this happen to. Yeah. Did they send you notices before that, or?
No, my mailbox was stuffed with notices all the time for CRA. I don't know if you noticed that even today. Even today, it's like I probably get 3 or 4 notices every month or so. Just saying that the HST is or the source deductions are in a statement and a blank form. Everything's still paper with them. Yeah. So I mean, one notice saying I'm a little bit late on something, or a notice saying you owe this money.
You should do this. Yeah,
exactly. It's like I get so much. I had a pile of paperwork on my desk that was just like it was like a foot and a half deep, right? So yes, there was some notice, and I don't know what I would suggest to fix something like that. Maybe go online and get go for like an email or a digital option, But for me, sometimes I need reminders, in order to, but now I know. And like I said, I've got accountants and bookkeepers that take care of all that stuff now for me. And it's so much easier just to dump it off.
I like the guy in our group, Norm, who's like, a good accountant won't save you money.
Save you money. Yes.
It just, for me, it's the hassle. So because we have so many transactions, because everything we sell is like $10.
Yes.
And then if you think of all the gas, and it's just like, it's a nightmare. So if we had to pay someone to do the full bookkeeping, but we couldn't afford it. But Ursula from Stratus Bookkeeping has basically taught me step by step. My dog says hello. What we need to do. And so I think that's an important to work. Hey. Ooh, there's something outside. Squirrel.
Yeah.
He's just attention deficit is my husband. But we were talking about, and I had a really good point, Jasper. Do you remember? I'm old, I'm telling you.
Saying
when you have a bookkeeper or accountant, like not just someone who's like, okay, I'm going to take a lot of money from you. It's really good when they say, okay, this is the cost range to do this work will be. And then you have to think, and they might be in a better position to say, you can't actually afford that. And that's what happened with Ursula at the time, where she was like, okay, so here's what we can do. Instead of just saying, sorry, no business for you. She was able to walk me through it. And so in that regard, I think having a financial person, unless you are a financial person, is really important. And it could just be if it's a strategy session with my accountant. I use Chris Finley, who's now with KMPG or something. And it's just like, and he, every time, it doesn't matter what we meet about, it's about once a month, he says, raise your prices, raise it. And I'm like, we're already market just a little bit above. And he is right. But I happen to be in a service that the public doesn't want to pay for, right? But we're getting there. So I think that would be one piece of advice or one lesson from mine and yours is one, open your mail.
Always open your mail from the government.
Talk to them. But a little piece of advice I learned, if you can afford someone to do the calling for you, like an accountant, they can put more pressure on someone like us than they will our accountant, because our accountant or bookkeeper, whoever you can afford, will know what they can and can't do because they've done it for other customers, where we might be like, oh, I'm so sorry. So you were lucky to be able to negotiate that, because I think they do want success. It's going to look bad for them too, especially now. But yours isn't the only story I've heard of this. And I mean, it could be me someday. I mean, we're in the middle of working out our deal and stuff with them, because it was, we had someone embezzle from me. That's how bad I was at finances. My bookkeeper at the time, not Ursula, by the way, who I was so proud that I hired this guy to do stuff. And I can't say much more, except for he says, okay, this is how much you need to give me for remittance. And I gave it to him, and it never made it to CRA. So I was doing what I was supposed to. So don't worry, Robert is on it. My lawyer is. It's a long case, but and so that's where my problem started, was when I thought I was getting ahead, I was actually getting further behind, because I didn't just not pay it. I paid it. Do you know what I mean? And that was like 13, 14 grand. Wow. And so, I mean, that would be for me. Don't hand your money just over to someone to do things for you. Do it yourself. One, open your mail. Two, open your mail, get someone to help. But for you, following the payment plan, I assume, like, how hard was that with money coming in? Because it was probably substantial, or?
Yeah, it was $30,000 or $40,000. However, they made a deal. I gave them $3,000 a month, and I was done in a year.
That's not bad.
And now I've got my bank account set up so that all my HST goes as soon as I make a deposit. 13, or I put it up to 15%. Gets shot into another account right away without me even seeing it. And it's same with payroll deductions as well too. I have a separate account for that. So everything that's so that's just something that I can do on my end, and that was suggested from my accountant as well. And it was like, here, set it up this way. You'll never have to friggin' worry about it.
Well, and I think there's a stigma, because we get embarrassed, right? Because there's those who are like ridiculously fiscally responsible, and good for you. But there's also people who, okay, I'm going to start a business. Here's my map book. Here's my business degree. Here's my startup capital. Here's my profit loss mark. And I'm like, that is a lot of information that I don't know, right? Yeah. I was like, I need to feed my family, so I need to start a business, right? Yep. So some people started differently, but now that we know, we're responsible. I mean, not knowing also made us responsible. But I mean, if this mistake happened to you again, CRA is not going to be as nice, because they'll be like, hey, remember this mistake that you made before? And so I think that's where the lesson learned. I made a huge mistake. I think I talked about it once on the show this Christmas, because we weren't sure we were going to make it. Everyone, I was quite clear about that. I can't believe we did, but here we are. We went 7 months living hand to mouth, couldn't even afford groceries. Oddly, I could afford Starbucks, so I wasn't that bad off. But there was a day where I made a decision that no, we can't afford the extra staff I knew we needed. I can do it. And I'm Superwoman. And I literally collapsed on the floor one day. I'm bawling. A check was late. I was worried, because I mean, the number one thing for me is everyone gets paid. I don't care about us. I mean, I do, but we get paid last, right? And it was literally, and I'm not allowed to say who, the generosity, because there was literally a check that was late. It was from the government. And so someone who said, here, I'm going to help you cover payroll, pay this back right away. And so we were able to do that, which was good. But if not, I would have been out because we had already taken our high interest loan. So we're here now. But that lesson for me, so that mistake was, had I just invested that amount on the right employee at the time, I would have saved myself, because I probably cost myself well more in my mistake with one client where I overstretched myself, where they should have had their own project manager. And so I guess that's the lesson that I'd like my own takeaways. Every time I get that cheapness in me and I say, I can't really afford to outsource that or to get that help in, I have to think about the cost of if I screw it up, right? And so money is one of those things. HR is something we have a consultant that we bring in. Oh, please tell, do you have an HR story? I mean, I do, but I don't.
I've got lots.
Where you've just sort of hired someone because...
Oh yeah,
I let my husband in.
I've gone through everything that you can imagine with employees. You know, where I've had employees that are just, common sense is not very common in the world, and you know, some employees, you know, the majority of people. And, you know, how do I put this? They lie. They lie about their experience. And I can tell right away how long somebody's been painting for. But, you know, I've had employees that I've had a hard time. I've said the wrong things to them. And I've had to get you know, IHR to get involved to actually formally. Yes, Karen Brown. Right? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
no worries.
Poor Karen. She's like a really good client of mine as well
like,
too.
If you had invested in this to start with,
absolutely. You know, and you know what, she does she made up all my employment agreements, everything now, so that we need to kind of cover our ass on that side of things, because I don't know anything about HR. I don't know what the policies are that I'm supposed to be providing, but she does. You know,
you also do a subcontracting too, right?
I do, and Robert. I spent a bunch of money with Robert, but it's worth it. It's saved my ass as well. You know,
and you know what he does? If we can give him a little shout out, or any good lawyer, but Robert from Curran-Nadeau, he did for us our contracts specifically to our contractors and our vendors, and the contractor one, he's like, don't change anything, because he made it, because it's a thin line between employee and contractor in most cases. And in this case, so it just, you know, most other courier companies won't go to that length. But we make sure that there's separation, and we only use our contractors for overflow, because I can only afford this many vehicles and we have this much work. So there is a need for it. But we also treat them really well in terms of, I won't send a contractor. We have an emergency order going to Kempville. Well, I'm not going to send someone to use their gas and wear and tear on a one-off. I keep them on really dense routes. So we had to work, but he worked really hard on that contract. And I feel confident, and it sounds awful, but I feel confident if something ever happened to one of the contractors, that we're not liable. We're still friends with them. We're going to help them. But legally, he did such a good job. So that was an investment in the long-term benefit. And same with our vendors. For people coming in, it's a pretty airtight, you know, because he protected all of our interests. And it was the first time I think I'd ever had anyone do that. I mean, a lot of people are like, you should do better, but I couldn't make heads or tails of things, but I know and I trust what he says. Yeah.
Well, speaking of CRA, is there's the thing: if your subcontractors are considered employees, you owe all that taxes from the minute they worked for you, right?
And so I mean, they just say you're a subcontractor, and I was like,
sure you are. You know, how many other clients do you have? That's the one distinction. Well, there, so I can't be the only.
So when our subcontractors, so in our industry, contractors themselves can be pretty shady, and that's why we have the you know. But on the other hand, a lot of other people, it's subcontractor. So it starts with Amazon, because they don't want to charge anyone, so they're not wanting to pay much. So the driver, who everyone's complaining about, who may have just gotten out of prison, nothing wrong with that, but just has all of these issues, he's getting paid $2 a box to deliver things, right? There's no incentive for, there's no, and so that we found a way to do it with integrity of the people, and I know you have as well, is that like you have to have that firm line, but that doesn't mean they're subhuman because they're subcontractors, right? They're still valuable people. And a lot of my contractors are other entrepreneurs, artists, people who, and I'm blunt with them about, here's your rights and responsibilities. It's laid out in the contract. I know they're not seeing a lawyer and things like that, but I said the same thing. I wish people had sat down and told me things when I started. I said, realistically, I need you to know this. I don't need to explain anything here, but I want you to know your, so that like that you making your choices yourself without just legalese. So.
Well, I know that when I bring on a subcontractor, you know, there's, and I still use the same subcontractor agreement Robert made for me 6 years ago, is, you know, they have to be insured. They have to have their own WSIB. They have to have all this qualification. And plus they also have to have other income aside from me, you know, and it's gotten me out of trouble, you know, and it's something, it's almost like an insurance policy where it's okay, this is covered and it's done properly. And if and I've never, knock on wood, I've never had an issue with the sub before. I've had to fire them, but it's right there in the contract. It's like, you know, you suck,
go. It's a lot easier to say you're not welcome here anymore.
And like you said, if you treat your contractors and my contractors, my subcontractors and my employees proper, and you respect them, and I throw them bonuses when I can, and on certain jobs, I'll give them jobs for a percentage of the job. They will bend over backwards to help anybody because they're happy to be at work, you know, and it shows in the quality of their work. And that is the secret to running a successful business, as far as I'm concerned, is keeping your staff happy. You know, and of course,
and
making
the right staff.
Oh
my God, that was one of ours. You said the same thing. Like you made mistakes in hiring. I would because I got a feeling about someone, because I'd like to promote my drivers. And Carol Ann and I have sort of switched. She's my director of operations, because essentially operations outgrew me. I had talent, but I couldn't keep running operations and run the business. I couldn't do both, and so. And she basically was, and she didn't say it like this, and she'd give me heck for saying it, but this is what I got from it. It's like, literally, Jen, could you stop hiring people from the street? And I mean, just by feeling and by gut, right? Is that no, they have to have a certain set of skills to come in. And so we need that. Now, I can still mentor and train people up, but right now, what we need to do is be a functional business, and then look, it's like the same reason we want to be profitable is not just so this was the great experiment, but also so that we're able to do more good later. Me with money is good. I do good things. I've got, what Robert says is like, my business strategy is karma, which has worked thus far, but now I have to put a little bit more thought into it.
Sure.
And so what is your model right now? Like, what is your goal in 5 years from now? You've learned all these lessons.
Yep.
So where do you want to be in 5 years?
Well, and as you know, when you take on every task and job in your business, you don't have time. You don't have time to do anything properly, like the interview process and such. So I've taken on a production manager this year, which has taken all my operations stuff. As far as getting the job done, I'm doing sales, but 5 years from now, I plan to bring on another couple of salespeople. You know, the more money that you dump into marketing, the more your phone rings, the more people that you can hire to do sales. And you know, I've got all my procedures, all my standard operating procedures in place now for exactly what it is that we do. And I sell on the quality of our work, and I also sell on the repeatability of each project being sort of the same. You know, like all the same prep and the same attention to detail and such as well. And in 5 years, I want to be able to not step away from it, but just oversee everything and have everything flowing properly. And it's really starting to come together with the production side. But it took me a while to find the right production manager. And I hired from within. I hired from within as well. And this is it's one of my painters who's been with me, probably 5 years now. And you know what? He knows painting jobs inside out, but it's finding the right crew chiefs in order for him to manage. So I've got great guys that work for me now. And
isn't that the best? Like, I love
it. Really is.
Interesting. Like, I work only 3 days in, 3 days in the office, 3 days out. And then Sundays I don't work, which is an amazing thing. Like, I mean, I literally did nothing yesterday. I sat on the couch and I watched Netflix, The One, which was a good show. And then I did a little work, but I had it's more when I don't do things like, so when I'm not working in the business, I get creative ideas around the business. So I have to mark them down while I think of them. But no, I had a very lovely day and then got up to go hard. And so in 5 years, I want to be just at the 5 day a week. But I want to be at like 8 to 10 weeks of vacation a year by then. Cause here's my business will be sold for lots of money by then. That's
a great 5-year plan right there,
Oh yeah, I know. Find an island, go snorkeling. Well, I'll go snorkeling. Josh does not like snorkeling, but I think this is a really important conversation to have, Paul, because so like I felt shame, like one, when I was embezzled, but two, whenever I go to, our BNI group and everyone's so like put together and doesn't really talk about those things, and business owners online aren't really talking about it. And I'm like, and I've had advice saying, don't be so transparent. And I said, well, one, that's just who I am. I have my book, Jesus Loves a Crazy Horny Feminist. So I'm not going to pretend to be this mobile, although I'm getting there. But two, I don't know if I have a number 2, but I did, but I forget things. No. The other thing is that I think it's important for other people to hear about the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, because the downs, and I mean, I've said this before, is that no one owes us this living, right? No. So I know when things are down, I'm taken care of. I've got people, places, but if we don't make it, it is just a business and I'll find something else. So that's the first thing. That's a lesson of attitude that'll happen when you put all your eggs in one basket and then they go away and you've lost 120,000 in revenue every month. And you're like, why am I doing this? Right. Wow. So even though we've come out the other end, it could have gone the other, it's just a job. But I think so many people aren't talking about the little things that go wrong. And that's sort of why we did this series, is because, it would have been nice to hear someone's story and go, hey, maybe I should open my mail from CRA. You weren't doing it, and I'm not doing it. I bet people who we're not alone is my point. And
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly the point, Jen, is that we've had struggles, and you know what, things aren't rosy every single day for us as well either. But believe me, there are a lot of people, a lot of business owners who are in the same boat. They may be showing one thing, but I used to be under the assumption, he owns his own business, guy's loaded, No.
Me too, and I know.
Yeah, exactly.
I have, I now pay myself, so I have a salary, which is
so do I. Yeah, and I did that.
But the business, see, Angelina just said, I want to put this at, Angelina Simpson. So I need to hear this because I went through a lot financially. I'm trying to do everything. And yes, my account was locked once by a bank, not CRA, but same story. And it's those things that, because for me and for my husband, it was our motto at the time, like during all this, as long as we can pay our staff, we're going to figure it out. And that was always, and so the one time we were close, we actually had other entrepreneurs say, can you just negotiate with your staff to pay a little bit later? And we said that, no, I can't. When people are making not a lot, under 20 an hour, 17 or so for our drivers, when they're making that much, that's not a lot. Every penny, especially during COVID and stuff, is counting. And if their stuff bounces, there's a $25 fee from both ends. And I know that cycle. So I said that was the one thing is all of our staff get paid on time, and I'm always paid last. Sometimes I'll pay Josh before a couple other now, because that we both get paid. My kids, if they work, they get paid last now, if at all. And so for me, that's the most important integrity point financially. What would your take or your number one integrity thing be? That's exactly mine. Is I've maxed out my credit cards to pay my staff as well too. I've never
and I take pride in this. I've never screwed anybody over, regardless if I've owed them money or they were bad staff or anything like that. It's always been, I've always paid my severance pay, and here you go. And I've, that's one thing that I can sort of hold my head up against, is that, I've grown some integrity in doing this stuff, because that's what we have. We have our reputation. There's a lot of painters out there. There's a lot of painting businesses out there. But what is it that holds that separates you? It's your word and your reputation that goes behind you as well too. So I mean, that would probably be the stand by your word.
It's so important. What's in your field? I mean, it's literally, people could take pictures of bad work. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
We're in the era of shaming, and I mean, we've had it where someone said this delivery person did this horrible thing, and I was tagged, and it wasn't my staff, but they thought because it was a box of food that we didn't do that area at the time, but I was so like, oh my God, was that us? Because that is horrible. And so I think we all have to be careful, and we have to be kind to ourselves, which I think is the message. So I think that's the most important thing for us all to end on for the Lessons Learned series, is that, and go through the other ones, is that like we're all in this together, but also not. But we're all on our own. And if we make it, we don't owe anything to anyone. And if we don't make it, we make the choices that we did. And so that's sort of my attitude about the whole thing, is that, and of course I'll be as nice as I can, but I mean, if we make it big, I know I put the sweat equity here. And if we don't make it, I also know that it's because of me, and because of circumstances, because like, if you can't make a little bit of profit as a courier company in COVID, but I'm trying to work the ethics of that as well. But
exactly. And you know what, mine as well, if there's anybody new out there who is struggling, ask somebody who's been in business, and we will talk to you, absolutely. I will. I love mentoring, and I love giving some stuff that I've done. Don't do this, I love that, because that's how we grow, and that's how we help each other.
And I think you have to ask. People really miss out, because people would say, "Oh, you're needy, or you're this." I said, no, when I need help, I ask for it. When people ask for help, I give it. Like it's not counter. It's
exactly.
But if you haven't asked for help, you can't complain that you didn't get any. So, if you're struggling with anything, reach out, network, go for gold. I have mentors of people who, I can't say, but people who really are high up there, and people, because I've started to think bigger, that I why not? I started to think like, no, wait, I'm running an almost $1 million company. I don't have $1 million, but in revenues and many mistakes. But it's time to level up and start looking for excellence. And so that's what we're doing. And the first step for anyone is open that mail from CRA. And also, if you're at the point where you're starting to look at your life insurance as your backup policy, then you also might want to see a mental health professional. Been there, done that, right, Paul? I'm sure we all
have. I've been there and done that too. Yeah, absolutely.
With this much alive. Let those thoughts come, but let them go, because in the end, guys, it's just a job, right? If we have to change our lifestyle, if we have to tighten our belt and not have our Starbucks, there are people out there who are homeless and are starving, and we're just going to hustle and do what we do to get ourselves in a place and then make the world better. And if that should be everyone's goal as an entrepreneur, is comfort for yourself and helping those less fortunate, I think. Yeah. Well, Paul, thank you. So this is Paul from Flying Colors Painting. Tell him if you're hiring him, so he'll let me know if you heard it on the Jen Hayward show. I'd love to think that I have a little bit of clout. And he did a wonderful, when I do this, I'm going to share a picture of it. Basically, go for colors in our old place. We couldn't afford it when we moved here. We can't even afford the sign yet, but we're getting there. And there's a lot more. We have 8,000 square feet. That's going to be a little more expensive.
That's a big stripe. Big stripe.
And so he did it like basically a yellow color with a green stripe, so to match the Go For It logo. So it was really nice that he was able to do that. So it's not just plain painting, you can get interesting things done. So check out Flying Colors. Thank you so much, Paul, for sharing your wisdom, and congratulations on making it out of your first batch of mistakes. Now it's time for more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, Big Witch, everyone.
Now.
I have no shows planned right now. I just have to get through year end. And so in April, I'm sure I'll have some fun things planned. But until then, wish me luck with QuickBooks. All right.
Awesome.
Okay, thanks. Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, Jan.
Right. Just stay on, Paul, for a second.
Okay. All right, you got it. Right.